G'day tubers, how are we people? Got my next project here. I haven't had a project for a little while actually, so I haven't done any videos, but this is the next one. This is a genuine Harry Ferguson finger bar mower, which I've just picked up. Appears to be complete, except for the drive belt, which goes obviously around that lower pulley there, or drive pulley, or driven pulley, and that's your drive pulley. That cap has been off. That's a brass piece. That cap has been off, and that nut's loose. So this is loose. So I don't know if someone's pulled that apart. Maybe it broke a belt at some stage, and that's how you change it. I don't know yet. Looks like a bit of a nightmare to do a belt on. So there's that. That's actually brass. Look at that. It's had a spanner on it. It's some stuff. Well, obviously it has. It wouldn't have been undone. Yeah, it all appears to be there. It's got the original Ferguson name tag on it in a bit shabby condition. Once I start pulling it apart, I'll be able to get that off and clean it and get an identification number and that. But she's got the top link. It's standard 3-point linkage, as you can see, and normal PTO hookup. It doesn't look, the guy I got it off said he's had it for years and he's never used it. I don't think it's done that much work. If you look at the pulleys, I mean, they don't even, see, it's still got the grey paint on them. They don't even look like they've done any work. Yet, if you look at that 3-point pin, it's a bit worn there. I don't think this has done the big hours somehow. It's got the breakaway thing here. That bit of bar, that piece, actually threads into that. That thread's a bit pulled. I don't know, it just looks like it wasn't threaded in far enough, but I'll check all that. You look at the wheel, and the wheel doesn't look like it's done any work at all. Plus, all these teeth are all painted. See, if you look there, it doesn't look like they've ever ran. Now, I could be totally wrong, I don't know, but it just, that broke during transport. There's a bit of steel that comes out of there, and that's if you actually stand it up for transport. I'll show you that later. Yeah, it doesn't look like, underneath, it doesn't look like it's done that much work. I think it's just been sitting for years and years and years. But yeah, got the breakaway device. I'll have to make up something to suit the where it hooks up under the tractor. But yeah, we're going to clean this up. We're going to make it real nice and get it working, and have it as sort of a working display piece, I suppose. I don't think I'll put it back to work. I might test it out, but I don't think it'll be working. But well, you know, on a full-time basis by any means. But it all appears to be there. Also got with it, which is very interesting. Well, there's the actual board. I think that board, if that's the original one, that's never been used. I think that goes somewhere, something like that, I think. Could be wrong. Got to do a bit of research on this. I think there's some stuff in YouTube. What else have we got here? Yeah, so that's all that. Over on the bench, this is an interesting piece that came with it. That is a sharpening jig. Now, look at that stone. It's, you know, it's not worn at all. This will be all pulled apart and cleaned up. Got the belt. I've got a little electric motor that I can use. Dunlop wedge grope. Wedge grope. So that sort of sits like so and drives that, and this slides across. Obviously for an adjustment thing, I don't know. He said these bits come with it. They're off something totally different. Well, it's the same, but not for that. He said this handle come with it. I don't know what the hell that does. If anyone can enlighten me what that does, I have no idea. Pulley and a few other bits. That's the arm that I was saying broke off. You can see it broke there. That's just for transport. You just hook it up, it's for transport. So the blade's not on the ground, obviously. But yeah, that's it. Don't know what went on that end there. maybe just another stone or something. I don't know, it's got a slight bend in it. But anyway, we'll pull this apart and clean it right up. Yeah, and mount it on something, and I don't actually even know how it all mounts up. It may clamp to the tractor somehow. Don't know, I really don't know, but we'll find out. But yeah, if that board's original, that has not got a mark on it, or it has never been fitted. Yeah, looking at there's no sign or indication of bolt marks or anything like that on it. I don't know if it's original, but can't see anything on it that sort of tells me. But yeah, so that's that. So yeah, a finger bar mower. Once I get a serial number and all that, I'll you know, let you know. Hopefully, I'm tipping it's 50s, of course, because it looks like it's pretty old technology. Probably state of the art in its day. But yeah, we're going to get stuck in and restore it. Well, not restore. Well, yeah, restore it, clean it right up, make it nice. Hopefully, bring it back to what it was and see if it can do any work. Looking at the underneath of the bar, guys. Look at that. That doesn't look like it's done any work. Not that I can see. You know, you would think that would have rubbed through or had a bit of rubbing on it, as would these teeth, or the fingers, if you want to call them that. And look at this. I don't know if it's a bash plate, not a bash plate, but whatever it is. That doesn't look like it's done anything. I can't help but think this hasn't done a hell of a lot of work. It all appears to be in a serviceable condition. Just old and rusty and crappy. Yeah, don't know. It's yeah, it's quite interesting, the whole thing. But yeah, we'll tidy it up. But as I say, I can't see any wear marks on the wheel, on the bottom, along there. Yeah, don't know. I guess we'll find out more as we pull it apart. Disassembly time, guys. Now that I've found out where most of the linkages go. Yeah, just taking the little levelling wheel off, taking that drive arm off. We'll take that whole bar off first, separate that, and then we'll start on the main body of it. Just undoing these main bolts or nuts here for the bar. Took that plate off that was there, and underneath them is shims. So just something to watch. Don't lose the shims, because yeah, or else you'll have to be redoing whatever the clearance is. They go under that plate there. Yeah, but they're the ones that come out of it, so they're the ones that we'll be putting back. But this is where a manual would be nice, so I know the clearances and that, but I don't have that luxury yet. That's the bar off, guys. Just undid those three main bolts, as you saw. Those two and that one. Just watch on the underside of the bar too, there were shims as well. See there, see those ones? There were them as well. So clearances look like they're everything on this, or else I'd say we'd have jamming problems. But yeah, the bar come off. I won't disassemble that yet. I'll do that all on its own, in its own whatever. We'll continue on with this frame. We'll start taking some of this stuff off. You know, little bits and pieces like that. Strip it slowly back, and yeah, we're getting there. Then the fun part of cleaning it all up. We'll take this connecting rod out now. That one, guys, that's the one that attaches to the, well, it's almost like a crankshaft in its looks. I've taken the nut off there. It looks like a standard wheel bearing setup, but that's a bit tight. It doesn't want to move yet. So we'll take off the back here, which is just another one of those caps. They look like the old front wheel bearing caps off the Fergies. But yeah, we'll take that off and see if that whole thing will come across, and then I can do this on the bench. This sort of stuff's always easier, you know, it'll work in height. As I was saying, guys, that main connecting rod, that didn't want to come off in a hurry. That's all right, we'll work on that slowly, bit of heat in that. The other side I just undid, same as if you look in there, you'll see there's another tapered roller, so two tapered roller bearings. Same as basically a front wheel bearing on a lot of cars. All the grease looks quite serviceable on that. It's I'm going back to my old theory of it hasn't done a lot of work. So yeah, anyway, that's all good. All the bearings look good in there. Everyone's different, guys, and I'm no exception. As you can see, I'll take things off as a complete assembly and deal with each individual assembly on its own. For example, I've just taken this off. This is this, I think it's an anti-lock device or a breakaway device or something like that. Rather than fuck around with the pin and all of this jazz, take the whole lot off as an assembly. I'll deal with that on its own and reassemble it like that. So when I come to put it back, I just got to put that U-bolt on and she's done. So I don't know if it's the right way or not. It's just the way I do things. You undo one bolt and all sorts of things start falling off. Undid that pin through there and this whole bloody thing comes straight off. It's all pretty heavy, this stuff too, so just watch that. We're going to try and pull that shaft now. Got the pulley off, that's just splined on, no big deal. So yeah, we'll undo. There's an adjustment, 1, 2, 3, and there's an adjusting screw in behind there for the belt. We'll pull those 3 bolts, and I'm tipping that back flange will fall off, and hopefully it'll come out the other side. That's the PTO shaft out, guys. Undo the 3 retaining bolts for that flange. Once again, tapered roller bearings. As you can see, just had to use a 3-jaw puller to pull that off. It's just a little bit tight on that bearing, but she come out. So, yeah, that's that off. I want to split this assembly, guys. So that looks like a bit of a dust seal or something. It's not actually that thick. It's a bit dinted and shitty. What I've discovered is there's a little grub screw in here, which has probably got something to do with it. And there's a rubber bushing, it appears to be. So let's see if we can get that screw out, which I don't think is going to be simple. And we'll go from there. Tried with the impact driver on that, guys. Didn't want to happen, so we drilled it out. It was very soft. I only drilled until it got hard to drill, which tells me I'm probably on the shaft. We're going to try a few other things here. I don't know what, but yeah, we'll try, I don't know, shitloads of WD-40 and a bit of swearing and a bit of this and a bit of that. Change of plan with this thing, guys. I wanted to separate that from that. That's cast steel or iron, and that is actually aluminium, that housing. There's a pin, as you can see, right there, goes right through. It's as tight as you like. Now, I'm tipping it has to be pressed. I'm also tipping it's going to need a heap of heat on that aluminium housing, which of course that'll swell easy. And the pin might virtually fall out, might not too. Trouble is, in there is rubber components and also in those bushings. Now, I'll never be able to get that bloody bit of rubber. And if I heat that enough to sort of loosen it, it's going to melt that and burn it. So I'm going to clean this up all in one hit. As it is. I don't like doing it that way, but that's the way it's going to be. I think I'll open up a whole can of worms if I bloody try and pull that pin. Having said that, the main bolt that goes through, which is this one, that's the main bolt that goes through there. As you can see, that diameter is heaps smaller than that. But what actually supported the bolt is these little bushings, or whatever were there, and that's part of that. You can see there's an upper sleeve. That's, I'm tipping, to do with support. That sleeve, I think, slides around the outside of that shaft. I'm going to turn up a piece that sits inside and sits flat on that and has a hole through at that diameter. That should act as support, I think. Yeah, that's about all we can really do with that. But yeah, I'll clean this right up, smooth out some of the shitty castings and that, and yeah, we'll give it a coat of that chip-proof tar paint. This is the main body, so we'll give it a coat of that. That's adjustments for the fan belt, the drive belt, I beg your pardon. Yeah, we'll clean it right up and give it a lick of paint, should look all right. Well, guys, that's I guess the main body, all cleaned up. I ground back a lot of the castings. Just makes it look a little bit neater, and it's been painted in that anti-chip tar stuff. I've got to clean a little bit out of where the bearing goes there. That'll be right, that'll be fine. I've got to turn up some pieces for in there, as I was mentioning. But we'll let that have a dry out in the sun for the rest of the day, and yeah, that'll come up nice once I'll start detailing it a bit. Yeah, it'll look good. Well, like all these projects, it's a lot of mucking about and cleaning up and detailing, but if you put a bit of work into the nuts and bolts, get rid of all the rust and clean up the surfaces and all that, it's still a bit hot, that, from getting dipped in the oil. Yeah, they come up all right, you know. It's yeah, it's sort of, after a while, you know, it's worth the effort. Turned up those little bushings, guys, just out of bit of mild steel, and the idea is that they will sit in there, something like that. It needs a little bit of a tap in. I've got it just a shade tight. That'll set a clearance between those big washers and the rubber, still giving that some freedom of movement, but still supporting. I think that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's going anyway. Well, that come up all right, guys. That bolt pulled up fine. I still have, don't know if you can see that, still got pretty good movement there. I'm tipping it's got to have a little bit of slack there, just to help with vibration and all that. I'm tipping, could be wrong, but yeah, that come up all right considering I didn't pull it completely to bits. We're going to work on that bottom part of the 3-point now, the long bar that goes through there, which is the attachment point for yeah, the 2 bottom links for the 3-point. Then once that's on, I can sort of, if I have to, I can mount it on the back of the tractor and you know, start setting heights and all that sort of jazz, but that's a bit of a way off yet anyway. Well, here's the brains of it, guys, or not the brains, but you know what it is. The Ferguson, as you can make out, Ferguson, and there's all the patents. Type 198. Now, I don't know if there was a 4th number, because that line there is where the U-bolt right there went over it. I don't know why they bloody put it there and right over it. That number there, I'm tipping, is a serial number. I can't make it out. It could be 14052, could be a 52 model, wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that's about all I can make out at this stage. I'm going to try and get these rivets out and take this out and try and clean this plate up as best I can. I don't know how much I can do with it. And I don't want to damage the numbers, but I don't see how. I don't know. I don't know what else to do with it. If that's on there, it'll make it harder to clean up this anyway. Yeah, we might just see if we can get those rivets to move. But that could be a 52. 14052. Don't know. Yeah, it could be a 3. I don't know. Well, it's not 1932, and it's definitely not 1980 something. So we'll try and work it out. Guys, these are the legs that the whole thing sits on when you take it off the 3-point. Excuse me. They were pretty hard to get out of there. I had to heat up these. These were rusted in, as you can see, so they'll have to be cleaned right up. Rerun the threads. No big deal. You'll see those legs that it sits on are permanently welded in there. Like so. I'm gonna cut them off, and so I can take them legs out and clean them properly, because I also want to clean these up and powder coat them. So yes, I'm going to have to cut that. We're not necessarily going for flat out originality here. As long as it's close, we'll be all right. Well, there's the basic frame done, guys. Or, well, if you like, yeah, the 3-point linkages there, your 2 lower, obviously, and that's your upper. That chain hooks onto the top link into those notches there. That's some sort of an adjustment. But yeah, that's your basic frame. Got to get a few more lynch pins. That's what I forgot to get the other day. But yeah, sort of looks all right. It's coming up nice. Yeah, we'll keep belting on. Well, now that that's done, guys, we're going to start work on all the drive assembly and the pulley assemblies. Oh, that's that bloody... I've started on that too. That's part of that breakaway device or whatever it is. I'm not quite sure. Levelling device or something. That's the driven pulley. I've pulled the shaft right out. As you can see, that seal, I've just washed my hands. That seal is destroyed. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get one. I'm going to have to put something in it. So you've got to try and get that. That seal's all right, which goes in there. These punch out, these shafts. You've got to knock the pin out of that one. As you can see, there's a pinhole there. Knock the pin out, that come out easy. And the shafts drove out fairly easily. As you can see, that one's got a step. So looking at this, it's got to come this way. It can't go that way. It's got to come that way. So that's all right. Bearings are good. It's just really clean it up. But yeah, getting that seal, that's... Don't know how hard that's going to be. May have to... I don't know. We'll just see what happens on that. Well, that's those bits cleaned up, guys. Cleaned up, powder coated. Same old thing, just tidied up the pins. Ran the threads on the U-bolts. Yeah, come up all right. Oh, you've seen all that. Yeah, that's got to be done. Yeah. That's the... I think it's part of the... It's either the breakaway or levelling or something. I don't know what. Anyway, that's all cleaned up. Chains done, pins. I've got to get the right size split pins. They're way too small. I think they need about a 5 or 6 millimetre pin. So that's merely temporary. Same as this end. And we'll fix that up. But that come up all right. Bit of powder coating. And yeah, slowly starting to look like something here. I'm going into town tomorrow to hopefully get the V-belts for this. What I've come up with is 280 millimetre centres for them, the best I can measure it. 254 diameter for the big one. 135 for the little one. 19 mil across the top of the V, 17.5 tall. That should be enough for them to work out what belt. I'm hoping so. Yeah, just got to wait and see on that. But yeah, because it didn't come with any belts, so I've got nothing to compare it to. Well, I got some belts, guys. I gave the fellas down the industrial shop there the measurements, which were all correct. A B1245 or B47, I think that's 47 inches, or 17 by 1200. The 17's a little bit narrow, but I think it's the closest he had. They're probably slightly larger than I wanted, so I just hope there's enough adjustment in those holes there. If not, I'll have to go the next two smaller. About $20 each Australian. Got the seals and got the new bigger split pins for those things. So yeah, successful morning shopping. Takes all sort tubers. That's the main drive shaft for the bar, or the fingers on the bar, or the cutting edge, whatever you want to call it. Up this end goes the pulley, and attaches through that one there, like so. That's the seal out of there. In behind, that's two tapered roller bearings. I wondered how that seal could get so bad. And then upon starting to clean, have a look what's happened to that. Look at the angle of that. You can see it's not circular. It's been belted in. Now, obviously in an effort to get that off. I'm not the world's greatest mechanic, far from it, and I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, but if something's not coming off, there's a reason. And you don't just sit there beating shit out of it. Now I'm trying to work out how the hell I'm going to fix that without destroying it, because it's a cast piece. Yeah, I mean, look, some people just should not be allowed to work on stuff full stop. You can't stop it, but look at that, beating shit out of that, and that's why it's destroyed that bloody seal. Look at it. Look at it. I mean, what's, you know, what do people think? Well, guys, I used a little bit of heat to belt that bit out a bit, but I didn't want to force it because it is a casting. It's all a bit delicate. Then put it in the lathe and just skimmed off the high spot. I didn't go into there, or the existing, because it'll be getting too wide for the seal. So just took the high spot off, and the seal seems to sit nice and square. I think we'll be all right. That's the driven pulley, guys. Powder coated. We can start doing a bit of assembly. Now that is the main shaft that goes through the guts. Now it is pinned, and it is pinned there, as you can see. Now I've got to get them to line up. The only way I can think to do it is to scribe a couple of lines as I drive that in, and that way the lines will hopefully marry up with that. And because I'm tipping once it's in there, I won't be able to turn it. I'm going to put a ton of grease and shit on it, but yeah, I don't think it'll go as easy as it looks, and I've got to come from the other side. Yeah, but I think we'll scribe a couple of lines, one across the top so it lines up that way, and we'll see how we go. Well, that'll make things a little bit easier, guys. It's actually a tapered pin. I was just cleaning up the pin and I thought, gee, that looks narrower. She is tapered, as is that hole and as is those. So looking at it, that's as far as I can push it there, and that's it there. So obviously the taper's got to go that way, which means that shaft, that corner there has to go in that beg your pardon, that corner there has to marry up with that corner there. So she's got to go that way, as it were. It's just something to watch because, yeah, worth checking those things. You would never get that bloody pin in otherwise. So, and that'll help secure it all. So, yeah, I've scribed a bit of a line down that side, as you can see, and that'll marry up with that hole, and we'll just watch it. It's going straight as we drive it in, and yeah, a bit of luck, it won't be too bad. Slightly off topic, guys, but, well, it's not off topic, it's just another part of it. For those of you that followed my build on the tractor, it's changed a little bit. We've got a roll bar on it, a roof, put a few bits and pieces up in there, mirror obviously to see behind, two-way radio, little working light switch, got to have the flag obviously, and little working light up there, so yeah, and club rego. So yeah, the tractor come up all right. As I say, the roof and that made a difference, and yeah, she's going all right. We sorted out the wiring issues and all of that, so the new implement will look good on the back of it. Ready to assemble that linkage, guys. You know, for that that push rod or drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. Bearings in there and greased, seals in, and I put a little bit of Loctite on it just to help hold it in place. We're going to pop the bearing home with just this bit of tube. Bit of tube fits nicely on the inner race there, as you can see. The interference is on the inner race and the shaft. So that's where we want to tap it. We don't want to tap it on the outer race. It'll just destroy the race and the bearing won't move. So you need something that'll go on that inner race like that, and that should tap home relatively easy. So that's going to go in like so. And we've just got a soft hammer there, which is that one, just to tap it home. Well, that drove home quite easy. Well, not quite easy. It was just needed a light tap and it went. Rotating nicely, the seal's gone in. I can feel that it's all in place correctly. So that's good, yeah. So we can put the other bearing in. We've got to be greased up first. Put the other bearing in. Set the preload on it, and that's that part done. And then that whole assembly can go into that assembly over there. Well, that's assembled, guys. rotating beautifully. There's no up or down slack in it. Just tighten. I sort of tapped the bearing home just till the clearance stopped and called it good. Just tighten that nut down until it's not even tight, just firm. That way everything's going to be seated properly. And then back it off and just bring it to the nearest hole. You want it to still rotate freely, but it's got to have a tiny little bit of preload on it. Same as a wheel bearing in a car. And that'll be just fine. Just got to clean up the cap. And yeah, so on and so on. And but yeah, this will be able to be basically be able to go in once I put that main shaft through. Now that's going to be next. And as I mentioned, it's got to go a particular way with the tapered pin, and the hole has to line up properly. So that's going to be an experiment. That's got to come in from the other side. We'll see how we go with all that. Well, that went pretty easy, guys. A bit easier than I thought. Obviously, make sure you put your seal in down the bottom there. And just tap it slowly from that side we went. And it lined up perfect. The pin went in, the taper went in beautifully. So, and the lines there, I just watched that as I tapped it. And it stayed pretty much in line with the hole. I just rotated the shaft a little bit with some pliers just as I was tapping it, and it went in dead straight. And yeah, that's done. That's basically grease it up and install it on that. Well, that drives in, guys. Got to do the caps, obviously, just, the grease caps. They've got to be cleaned and painted. Had to take the leg off this side just so I can get in there to do the nut. Same thing for the tension. Just scratch me paint a bit. Just nip it up till it's firm, and then back it off just a shade. Just make sure you got no clearance. But yeah, that's rotating nicely, and doesn't appear to be any slack. It's the sort of thing, you might have to adjust it after an hour's running or something, but this will be lucky if it ever does an hour's work. Well, that's that assembly in and done, guys. Caps are on, rotating nicely. As you can see, you've got to take that leg off to get that cap in, but that's just easy enough to do. That's that assembly done. We'll move on to probably start getting that assembly ready. That's the PTO shaft, that pulley, all of that sort of thing. Start getting that ready, I suppose. Just working on this pulley, guys, and well, that's ready. I've sandblasted all that, cleaned it up. That's the hub for that. So that'll be powder coated black, as will this. Just noticed on a few of these castings, the letters GF. I mean, obviously that's probably a part number, but GF, I'm just wondering if that stands for Grey Fergie, because it's for a TEA 20, which my tractor is, and it's a Grey Fergie, so I don't know. Just, maybe it is. Well, that's it for that, guys. We shall see you in part 2.